Welcome back, Neutron Tech crew. Today we're checking out Kst Hacks as he tackles an awesome project, crafting a miniature Volkswagen Beetle replica from the ground up. First up is welding together the frame that'll serve as the car's skeleton. He's adding cross braces throughout to keep everything rigid and prevent the whole thing from twisting when it's actually being driven, which matters just as much on a small-scale build. After that comes the front suspension, a double wishbone setup that's surprisingly sophisticated. This design lets the wheels move up and down while staying properly aligned, borrowing techniques you'd find on full-size vehicles. The steering pivot point connects to linkage that translates turning the wheel into actual directional changes. Time for the rear-wheel drive components to go in. The setup needs to handle vibrations without being too flexible, while still staying stiff enough for proper acceleration and braking response. He repeats everything on the opposite side and links both wheels to the main drivetrain. At this point, most of the mechanical groundwork is done. The chain system gets tested here. It's the proof that power's actually flowing from the gearbox back to the rear wheels. The transmission and platform are now ready to support the engine. Based on its size and the chain sprocket placement on the left, this motor probably started life in a motorcycle or small all-terrain vehicle. Those red and white cylinders? Shock absorbers doing their job of keeping the back end stable. Now he's working on the cabin area for passengers and driver, which sits toward the rear in this particular design. Here's some history. Ferdinand Porsche designed the original Beetle in the 1930s under Adolf Hitler's directive. After World War II, production took off and the car became a worldwide phenomenon. People loved its rounded shape, air-cooled engine mounted in the back, and versatility on any road. From Germany to Mexico to America, it showed up everywhere. When manufacturing finally wrapped in 2003, over 21 million had rolled off assembly lines. Back to the build. He's routing mechanical cables through the rear section now. These cables get secured along the frame and run to their destinations. One connects to the engine's throttle for controlling speed, while another links to the braking system on the axle or hub. Finally, he's working on connecting the throttle linkage and fuel system on the engine side. These pieces complete the connection between the pedals up front and the engine sitting in the back. Right now, the builder's working on what you might call the skin of the car, bending and welding those outer metal panels into place. There's this tool called a sheet metal brake that lets you fold steel or aluminum sheets into all kinds of angles and curves. These aren't just for looks either. They give the whole thing its shape while adding rigidity and keeping whoever's driving protected. When you weld those bent pieces straight onto the frame, you're making the car way stiffer and stronger against twisting forces. Every single sheet has to be measured out, bent just right, and trimmed down so it lines up with the frame perfectly. Here's the thing about the Beetle. That rounded, bubbly shape isn't easy to replicate. The body's full of these complex, flowing curves that demand real skill with metalwork and welding if you want it to look right. Modern cars? They're stamped out by machines and welded by robots. This project is all hands-on work, a total throwback that mixes old-school craft with respect for the original design. The builder's also thinking ahead by welding on the supports for doors and hoods now, right onto the frame. Getting those metal pivot points locked in early means everything stays solid and you won't be scrambling to fix stuff later. You've got to understand spacing, angles, and where the weight goes. Each hinge has to line up smoothly with the frame and be strong enough so doors swing open without sticking or drooping. Now things are shifting from bare bones to something that actually looks like a car. The builder's using PVC pipe, and once you heat it up, it goes from stiff tubing to this bendable sheet you can shape however you need. It's perfect for wrapping around the Beetle's signature curves without dealing with heavy metalworking equipment. Heat guns are doing the job that massive industrial machines would normally handle, stuff like English wheels or panel rollers. Once the PVC is shaped, it gets screwed directly to the frame. That keeps it secure, but also means you can swap pieces out or tweak things later if needed. PVC has another major advantage. It barely weighs anything. That keeps the whole vehicle light, which makes it easier to push around or drive. And since it doesn't absorb water, you never have to worry about rust eating through the body like it would with steel. The car stays looking clean for way longer, especially after you paint or seal it properly. Plus, PVC is cheap and easy to find anywhere. For someone building this on a budget, turning basic plumbing supplies into car panels is genius. It's also kind of environmentally smart, repurposing materials instead of buying specialty automotive parts. To lock those thermoplastic panels together, the builder's using a hot staple welding gun. It heats up little U-shaped metal staples and presses them into the PVC, melting it just enough to hold without punching through. This is key for spots that flex or take a beating while the car's moving. The finished car won't win any drag races, but it'll cruise around neighborhoods pretty comfortably. Think somewhere between 50 and 70 kilometers per hour. That's perfect for parades, private property, or local gatherings where showing off a quirky custom build matters way more than raw speed. Sure, building your own car at home means you're skipping safety features like airbags and official crash tests. Nobody's pretending otherwise. But here's what you do get: an incredibly affordable ride. A vehicle shaped exactly how you want it. Inside each door panel, the builder weaves together horizontal and vertical metal bars to form a rigid, lattice-like structure. This framework keeps the door solid and prevents it from twisting when force is applied, while also giving the outer PVC covering something firm to attach to. Without this internal bracing, the custom-built frame, which doesn't have the built-in strength of a factory-pressed shell, would struggle to hold its shape. Since the main chassis tubing stops short of the doors, each door has to stand on its own structurally. On top of that, this internal bracing does something crucial. It distributes force across the entire panel instead of concentrating it at vulnerable spots like the hinges or latches. Instead of shaping the roof from one continuous piece, the builder opts for individual panels, a smart, flexible approach. This method makes it easier to fine-tune each section, swap out damaged parts, and sculpt the contours more precisely, all essential when you're working outside a factory setting. A heat gun becomes the tool of choice for recreating that unmistakable rounded roofline the original Beetle is famous for. Building a Beetle from the ground up demands you wear every hat. You're welding one minute, troubleshooting mechanical issues the next, then switching to fabrication, engineering, design, and constant improvisation. Across the globe, online communities bring together Beetle lovers who trade advice on everything from bodywork tricks to sourcing hard-to-find components and fine-tuning engines. These virtual hubs carry forward the spirit of the Beetle's hands-on legacy into the modern digital age. The Beetle earned its reputation as the ultimate car for do-it-yourself enthusiasts. Those early air-cooled motors were brilliantly uncomplicated. You could keep one running with nothing more than a basic toolkit and a manual in hand. That simplicity invited regular folks who'd never touched automotive work before to pop the hood and actually figure things out. Here's something that catches people off guard. The Beetle has a legitimate history in competitive racing. Sure, it wasn't designed to dominate speed records, but modified versions have tackled brutal rally courses and long-distance challenges. The combination of tough suspension, minimal weight, and straightforward engineering made it a go-to choice for racers on tight budgets and off-road adventurers. Many drivers found themselves wrenching on broken parts in the middle of nowhere during these competitions, relying purely on their own mechanical know-how. Around the world, the Beetle morphed to fit the specific needs and regulations of each region. Brazil kept producing the Fusca well through the 90s with customized interiors and engine adjustments. In Mexico, the Vocho became a cultural icon and served as the country's primary taxi vehicle for decades, right up until 2003. Manufacturing operations also popped up in places like South Africa, Nigeria, Australia, and Indonesia, with each location putting its own spin on the design and mechanics. Looking at the completed bodywork, this craftsman isn't just assembling parts. He's carrying forward a design philosophy that's traveled the globe for decades. Those classic Beetles put their motors in the back for good reason. That configuration pressed weight onto the rear wheels, which meant better grip when roads turned to gravel or snow started falling. What's being assembled here is a panel system you can actually remove when you need to reach the motorcycle motor tucked inside. PVC works surprisingly well for this kind of project, as long as you're smart about where you use it. Keep it away from anything structural, anywhere that might see serious impacts, or spots that'll get hot, and you're golden for a build like this. Right now, the focus is on sealing up every gap. Around the glass up front, where the doors meet the frame, anywhere two surfaces come together. A car that's properly closed up does more than look finished. It keeps weather and road grime outside where they belong, which means you can actually see through your windows and enjoy the ride. Leave openings, and you're inviting moisture to settle in and start eating away at metal from the inside. Time for the caulking gun. Kst Hacks is running a line of sealant along every joint and seam on this handmade Beetle. This step might not look flashy, but it's where good craftsmanship shows up. That silicone isn't just blocking water, it's also damping sound and keeping temperature swings at bay by sealing off drafts that would otherwise whistle through the cabin. Sanding comes next, working down the filler and smoothing where plastic sections meet. This isn't busy work, it's setting up everything that comes after. The surface needs to be even for paint to lay down right, and any bumps or leftover adhesive from the gap-filling process have to go. That yellow filler you're seeing? It's there to level out the body panels and hide imperfections. Those slots cut into the body aren't decorative. They're how trapped heat gets out from around the engine. Combustion generates serious warmth, and if that air has nowhere to go, temperatures climb until something gives. These vents are basically insurance against cooking your own motor. A door hinge is being fabricated and welded into place on this scratch-built Beetle. This small component handles a big job. It creates the pivot point that lets the door swing while staying connected to the body. Beyond just movement, it bears the door's entire weight and channels that load into the frame instead of stressing the door itself. Get the welding right, and the door stays put through bumps and vibrations instead of surprising you at the worst moment. The same thinking applies to the engine compartment lid. Those hinges need to let the cover lift up so you can get at what's underneath, whether that's routine checks, fixing something, or just poking around. They're mounted to both the body's skeleton and the lid itself, creating that upward swing that gives you room to work. Installing taillights isn't just about following the law, it's what makes the vehicle look complete and authentic. Beyond keeping things legal, they make sure other drivers can see you from behind, round out the overall look of the build, and ensure the car's actually roadworthy. Next up is building the cage that wraps around the engine. He welds together a rectangular framework, then adds diagonal support bars to keep everything solid and quiet under stress, essential when you've got a motor and transmission generating constant force. Once the frame is sturdy, he cuts sheet metal pieces and either bolts or welds them onto the outside, creating an enclosed space that shields everything inside from dirt, water, and whatever else the road throws at it. But you can't just seal everything up completely. Strategic cutouts in those panels let air move through, keeping the engine from overheating when it's running. These openings also make it easy to reach stuff like the air filter or carburetor when maintenance time rolls around. Now the engine bay is protected, looks sharp, stays cool, and won't be a nightmare to work on later. The steering setup gets carefully positioned and connected to make sure the car actually handles well, while the pedal configuration shows smart thinking about leverage and control. Up front, the dashboard does double duty. It gives you somewhere to look at gauges and info, but it also braces the front structure. Meanwhile, he's starting to position the door panels, which is the first real step toward closing everything in. This is where the builder steps back and checks if all those earlier choices are actually coming together into something that works. Getting the fit right here matters more than you'd think. It determines whether the doors will seal properly, swing smoothly, and latch without a fight. Moving to the front end, he's adding extra support around the wheel wells using crossbars that lock down both the steering system and the shock mounts. Since the suspension is already in place, it dictates where the body panels can go without getting in the way. These panels do more than just look good. They hide rough metal edges, quiet things down by dampening vibrations, and shield vulnerable parts from road grime and impacts. Now comes building a complete lighting system from the ground up, which means handling both the wiring and the actual headlight assembly. This part demands some real electronics know-how and decent soldering ability. He sets up a testing rig to make sure everything lights up correctly before actually mounting it on the car. Fitting the lights into the body takes careful cutting to get them sitting perfectly level and flush with the surface. Getting the testing, housing, and final mounting right is what separates a functional, safe setup from something that'll cause problems down the road in a home-built project like this. Painting the body while it's off the frame isn't just easier, it's smarter. Separating these two major components gives complete access to work on both sides without anything in the way. The paint goes on smoother and more evenly across every surface without mechanical parts blocking your reach. It also keeps you from accidentally coating stuff that shouldn't be painted and helps avoid those frustrating imperfections that show up when you're trying to spray around tight corners or complicated geometry. At this point, the bare frame gets turned into something you can actually work with. Plywood makes sense here. It's light but strong enough to handle whatever goes on top. That matte black finish does more than look sharp. It keeps rust and water damage at bay while tying everything together visually. What started as raw metal and wood now has purpose and direction, ready for the body panels and final touches. Next up is getting the electrical system sorted out with a voltage regulator rectifier. This little component does some heavy lifting. It takes the alternating current from the engine's stator and converts it into direct current that can actually charge a battery and run your lights, gauges, and other gear. It also keeps everything from getting fried by regulating voltage levels. The way everything's wired and mounted shows real care for making it safe and easy to work on down the line. Now the focus shifts to the interior surfaces. Walls and ceiling need proper prep. That yellow tape you see isn't just for show. It's double-sided adhesive that serves multiple purposes, from masking off areas to creating permanent bonds where needed. What makes this tape smart is how it lets you test fit everything before locking it down for good. Once positioning looks right, an orange foam back material goes up on the ceiling, adding cushioning and insulation while making the space feel more complete and comfortable. As things wrap up, the details really start to matter. The steering mechanism works exactly as it should. Smooth operation, no issues. Headlights slot into their housings, looking factory correct while actually lighting the road. Every move here shows someone who cares about getting things right, creating something that looks intentional from every angle. The door interiors get treatment with soft black fabric that does double duty, feels good, and cuts down on noise. Getting this fabric trimmed just right around the window opening matters more than you'd think. It keeps things from bunching up when the glass moves. Once that's done, the windows themselves go in, fitted and secured properly within each door frame. What started as a pile of parts has become something with real meaning, a nod to a vehicle that's meant something to people across decades. After all the hours of assembly and testing, it's actually roadworthy. This isn't just a garage queen, it's built to be driven and enjoyed, mixing classic appeal with modern reliability. That successful first drive validates everything: the planning, the problem-solving, the commitment to seeing it through. The Kst Hacks channel is all about getting your hands dirty with real DIY projects that anyone can learn from. This creator has become known for one thing in particular: building vehicles from the ground up. Whether it's go-karts, compact motorcycles, or even a 163 cubic centimeter T-Rex cross-cart, you'll see impressive mechanical engineering at work. The real magic happens when automotive concepts get transformed into something you can actually build in your own garage. Every build involves mastering multiple crafts: shaping the body, handling electrical systems, installing upholstery, and each step demands real skill and creative thinking. These aren't just vehicles that work, they're proof that with the right mindset and solid craftsmanship, you can create something incredible without a factory or massive budget. Hit that subscribe button to catch more builds and automotive projects like this one. Thanks for sticking around to the end. Catch you next time.